Have you ever had a sweet romance idea that made you very excited? Maybe you've had ideas that are similar to these three. A widowed mother moves to a small coastal town. Or a grumpy marina owner falls for a single mom. Or a baker inherits her grandmother's inn and reconnects with her high school sweetheart. For a few days, your story idea feels magical. You imagine scenes. You picture the characters. You start Pinterest boards. You write a chapter and maybe even 2 chapters. But then something happens. The excitement fades and your story stalls. And eventually the manuscript ends up in a folder called Someday. If you've experienced that, you're not alone. Today I want to talk to you about why most sweet romance ideas never become finished books, and more importantly, what you can do differently. In case we haven't met, I'm Lorna Faith, and I write clean adventure fiction, and I also write contemporary sweet romance with my pen name Melody Archer. I love to help beginning writers by talking about what I've learned about writing fiction, in hopes that something I've learned will in some small way help you to write and self-publish sweet romance books. As always, what I share is simply how writing my novels has worked for me, but you might have a different way of writing sweet romance that works better for you. And if you do, I encourage you to keep doing that. So let's talk about 5 reasons why most sweet romance ideas never become finished books. Reason number 1. The idea isn't actually a story yet. Many writers begin their ideas with a premise, but a premise isn't a plot. For example, a widowed mother moves to a beach town. That's very interesting, but it's not a story yet. Stories require emotional movement. You need to know, what does she need? What does he need? What are they afraid of? Why can't they fall in love immediately? In Jack and Emily's example, here's the premise. A widowed mother meets a grieving marina owner. Here's the story. Emily needs security. Jack needs trust. Emily fears abandonment, and Jack fears loss. Now you have emotional conflict between 2 main characters, and emotional conflict creates a story. So that's a great starting point. Before we get to reason number 2, if you are struggling to plot and write your story and would like some help, you can grab my free Sweet Romance Story Starter Pack at the link below this video. Now let's move to reason number 2, why most sweet romance ideas never become finished books. Reason 2 is writers focus on events instead of emotional change. Many writers ask, what happens next? Should I add a festival? Should there be a storm? Should I create a mystery? Those things can help, but readers honestly keep turning pages because of emotional movement. Ask these questions. Does trust increase? Does vulnerability deepen? Does fear grow? Does hope appear? Here's an example from Jack and Emily's story. Jack is helping little Sarah with a broken kite, and that might seem small, but emotionally, Emily begins to trust him, and Jack begins to care for the little girl, and that scene really does move the story forward. Reason number 3, the characters don't have emotional wounds. Many unfinished stories have pleasant characters, but they don't have emotional problems. Readers need to read about fears, wounds, false beliefs. For example, Emily believes that people always leave. Jack believes that love only leads to pain. Now every scene begins to matter, because now their relationship challenges those beliefs. Reason number 4. Writers try to plot an entire novel at one time. This is one of the biggest reasons that writers quit. They think, I need all 70,000 words figured out before I begin to write. But you really don't. What you do need is an opening image, a meet cute, a growing connection, between your two main characters, vulnerability, crisis, and a happily ever after. All you need is the next emotional step. So ask this question about your story. What happens emotionally in the next scene? And that question can unlock ideas for an entire chapter. Reason number 5. Writers believe getting stuck means the story is really bad. And this might be the biggest myth of all. Because every writer gets stuck. Every story becomes difficult. Every manuscript has a messy middle. Getting stuck doesn't mean you're untalented, or that your idea is bad, or that you'll never finish. What it usually means is the emotional journey in your story has become difficult for you to see. So here's some questions that you can ask about your story. What does my heroine need? What does my hero fear? What emotional truth have they not learned yet? Those questions often restart the story. Here's a simple sweet romance roadmap that I hope helps you. There are many successful sweet romance writers who follow this story structure, and I hope it helps you too. Number 1, this is your main character in their ordinary world, and they notice that something is missing in their lives. Number 2, your hero and your heroine meet, and sparks fly. Number 3, your hero and your heroine connect with one another, and they start to get to know one another. Number 4, fear appears in either one or both of your main characters. Number 5, vulnerability grows between them. They start to share things about themselves. They get to know each other, and they start to really fall in love with each other. Number 6, everything starts to fall apart between them. Something happened, and now fear has entered in again, and they think this is not going to work, and they start to choose to believe fear instead of love. But number 7, this is where your main characters choose love over fear, and they decide, no, we're going to stick with love. We're going to believe in the other person, and we're going to choose to love them and not believe in fear. Number 8 is your happily ever after. Your hero and your heroine fall in love, and they have a happily ever after. And that's it. You don't need 20 subplots or shocking twists or complicated plotting systems. All you need is emotional movement between your main characters to really write a sweet romance, which is encouraging. So here's some final thoughts. If you have abandoned stories before, I want you to remember this. Most unfinished novels don't fail because the idea was bad. They fail because the writer couldn't yet see the emotional path to finish the book. So instead of asking, do I have a good enough idea? Instead, ask this about your story. What does my heroine need? What does my hero fear? And what emotional truth will they discover about each other? Because sweet romance isn't really about plot. It's about two characters learning that they can trust again, that they can hope again, and that they can love again. And if your characters keep taking emotional steps toward that truth, your readers will keep turning the pages. And you might just finish the story that you've always wanted to write. So I would love to know, have you ever abandoned a sweet romance idea? If so, where did you get stuck? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And if you would like help to plot your own sweet romance step by step, be sure to grab my free Sweet Romance Story Starter Pack at the link below this video. If you want to learn more about emotional plot points, you can watch this video next. I'll see you there.